as a business owner, someone listening to this might be thinking, well, all right, it sounds like a really cool platform, but what's sort of that bottom line benefit to my business?
What we hear is people want more than a paycheck. They want to feel like they're part of something. They're part of a community. A lot of Gallup studies say, if someone feels like they have a best friend at work, they're very much more likely to stay at their job. Right. And so how do you connect with people? How do you, foster these relationships and so forth? You tie it into the business, but then you also create opportunities for people to kind of connect from a culture perspective as well.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. This week has a bit of an interesting spin to it. We've done some podcasts before with some internal nationwide folks talking about company culture and things of that nature to help, with things like retention and hiring and just building positive cultures. And, part of those conversations have talked about employee engagement and employee engagement programs. And Nationwide actually has we work with a company called Cooleaf with our own, sort of employee recognition and engagement, platform, and had the chance recently to sit down with John Duisberg, who's the co-founder of Cooleaf, to talk about, what they're doing, what their platform's all about, and really just about employee engagement in general. And obviously, it's a topic that is important today because of just the challenges with finding and attracting and more importantly retaining talent. When it comes to the independent retail space, and we chatted with John about the role that employee engagement platforms like Cooleaf can have in reinforcing company culture and driving engagement and really getting people to buy into that culture and your company and your business. And obviously there's bottom line impacts and just building a positive culture and what that does for the business. But cool to kind of see under the hood and get the details of what something like Cooleaf does and the impact that it can have and how they're using the platform to improve businesses and improve cultures. Just it's cool to see, and had a fun time chatting with John about it and diving into everything that Cooleaf does. So let's just dive into it. This is John Duisberg, co-founder of Cooleaf, here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we're back on the Independent Thinking Podcast, and a bit of a different type of pie. We usually talk to members and our product vendors and things like that. Today we've got a unique conversation coming to us with the folks at Cooleaf. John Duisberg, the co-founder of Cooleaf, which I could try to explain the employee engagement platform. Those are the two words I'll use, but I'm going to let you do that, John, eventually here. But before we dive into it, first of all, thanks for taking the time and matching the podcast equipment and making it look like we both know what we're doing up here and talking with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hosting me, Rob. Definitely appreciate that. And, happy to dive in and share a little bit about our story, about, what we're seeing in the industry, and hopefully this can be, helpful to listeners who are tuning in here. So I can just kick off with a little bit about Cooleaf and our story here. So you said it right, employee engagement. Basically what we're seeing right now in the market is everyone is focused on how do they attract and retain good people, right? You can't run a business if you don't have good employees. This is just right. What it comes down to, right? So every leader is thinking about this. And so what Cooleaf does is we help companies to have a strategy to be proactive when it comes to appreciating, recognizing, creating engagement with your employees. And then we have a technology to help run that for you, right? And so, essentially, companies these days, they're looking for, what's going to bring an employee to their organization versus a competitor. And what we're hearing is that people are looking at salary, of course. I mean, that's always going to be there, but what's your culture like, right? Hey, do I have growth opportunities, right? Am I going to feel like I'm part of a community? Do I align to your mission, your values, and so forth, right? And so, that's the part of the strategy that we really focus on and help a company differentiate. to attract the best people.
Which I mean, you're speaking the language of nationwide, representing small independent retailers that talent's at a premium right now. So this kind of thing, I think, speaks to them. And the idea of not even just being able to find talent, but that's the important thing, is keeping them, right? Because they have the opportunity to go elsewhere. And but if that culture is built the right way, and you're using all the tools at your disposal to create that positive vibe, then you're more likely to keep them. But before we dive a little deeper, because I know we're going to talk a little bit about you, because this is such a unique space, the employee engagement space. And how does one, talk a little bit about your background and how one, decides that this is the way they want to go and found a company that can help, others, create those positive vibes in the company culture.
Yeah. Well, if any entrepreneur ever tells you that, oh, they had this from day one, they had it all planned out, they're probably, lying through their teeth. The truth is that within any entrepreneurial journey, you evolve, right? We've had pivots. We've, changed with, the market in terms of how we can provide value and grow and so forth. And so we've been at this now for about 10 years. But when we started, we were actually really focused more on health and wellness, supporting these types of programs with employers. What we found is that, that companies are, that's one piece of an engagement strategy, right? And companies are doing a lot to figure out how to spot bonus their people, how to now, especially when people are remote or they're spread out in different locations. Well, how do you keep people feeling like they're connected and part of something? How do you manage internal communications? And so our service and product has evolved so much, over these years. And now we work with companies across different industries, everything from tech to retail to construction to higher education, you name it, Rob. So across industries, and I think we're now live in 18 countries, so around the world now. But the common denominator is, hey, what are you doing to differentiate yourself, to highlight your culture, highlight your values? Because, I think that especially with younger demographics, they want to know that they're working for an organization that they feel aligned to, from a mission and values perspective, right? And so we're going to share those stories and highlight those and just remind people about the why behind for how a company exists.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the connection here being, we've got some programs in the works for members. Nationwide, of course, is a user of Cooleaf, and we've got some cool things happening there. Not intentionally using cool to talk about Cooleaf, but the neat thing is, and having that experience with the platform, and I don't know how often you hear this, and you feel free to tell me this description's off base, but it almost feels like an employee social media platform where you can kind of talk about your coworkers and give praise and things like that. And you mentioned the bonuses. There's the reward system where you can kind of cash in these tokens that you earn for some pretty cool things, merchandise, gift cards, things like that. But simplest form, is it easy to describe it or correct to describe it as kind of that employee or company sort of social media type environment?
So it definitely resembles that. It's just that it's private to just your company.
Yep.
Okay. So think of it like you have this, mobile and online community that's branded for your organization, right? And all your employees are part of it. And so this is how, you're bonusing people. So let's just say someone did a great job with a customer, right? Well, you can share that story about how that person went above and beyond, right? And then everyone else on your team, they see that story, right? And that kind of, it reminds people, oh, this is what's valued here, right? And they can comment, they can like it, so they can participate in that milestone or achievement, and it's tied back to a core value. So now it's like, oh, okay, well, that's what that core value actually means in terms of how we work with our customers. And in addition to just recognizing and highlighting, that achievement, someone earns points. Okay, so there's a point system, right? And so as an employee, I'm accumulating these points that I can then redeem in a catalog. So think of Amazon gift card, Visa gift, hundreds of gift cards, flat screen TV, thousands of items. I can donate to a charity. You can get real creative about what is included in this catalog, but it's essentially a way to just spot bonus people for going above and beyond, treating your customers well, treating, overall the goals of your organization. Right. And so Rob, so here's the interesting thing about this, right? If you put, whatever, $25, $50 in my paycheck, I'm not going to complain about it, but it kind of gets absorbed. I don't really see it. It kind of already has a home. It pays my mortgage or car payment, whatever. Right. But if I get a $50 Amazon gift card and I give that to my wife, which by the way, it's like, we get packages like every day, it's just out of control. She thinks I'm a hero, right? It's more tangible, right? And it's kind of outside my regular compensation. And so I'm now talking about it. It's creating buzz. And so there's, in addition to being appreciated, I'm kind of have this, this spot bonus in real time, and there's a higher perceived value, right? And so we use that point system to just drive and reinforce the behaviors that you want to see more consistently across your team.
Yeah.
And that could be for your culture, that could be for, for your goals. But there's a lot more I can share, but fundamentally, that's an example of how it's used.
And another thing too, you mentioned the recognition, something I've noticed, and I think a neat way that it kind of continues to drive that involvement in the platform. There's a lot of like event-based things that happen as well throughout a month or a week or the year, like the New Year's is an example there, or the New Year's resolutions. I think there was something you could, share what your resolution was and talk about your progress and just other things like that throughout the year that, that it all ties back into the points and being able to earn those points and sort of build your point base. But, it's a neat way to not only earn those points, but learn more about your coworkers. And it's almost like a major, like a gigantic icebreaker, the way the platform is built.
Well, employees, what we hear is people want more than a paycheck. They want to feel like they're part of something. They're part of a community. They're connecting with, a lot of Gallup studies say, if someone feels like they have a best friend at work, they're very much more likely to stay at their job. Right. And so how do you connect with people? How do you, foster these relationships and so forth? And so we essentially will organize a schedule of virtual team competitions or challenges and events each month. Okay. And we manage this for our clients, but this could be around health and wellness, do a step challenge. We integrate with like Apple Watch and Fitbit and all these things, and throw a competition out there. You'd be amazed. People go nuts over this stuff. Right. So it could be around, just fun, social things, it's like, hey, it's, share a picture of your dog or your furry friend and, and post that. And then you earn points. And then now all of a sudden you got people, connecting that wouldn't have otherwise, have known that about each other. Right. And so that's how we're helping to kind of build the sense of culture and engagement. In addition to, hey, we just hit our weekly number. We hit our monthly goal. Boom. I want to spot bonus everybody. So you tie it into the business, but then you also create opportunities for people to kind of connect from a culture perspective as well.
Obviously a lot of fun. And I know we can dive into it a little deeper too. But as a business owner, someone listening to this might be thinking, well, all right, it sounds like a really cool platform, but what's sort of that bottom line benefit to my business? And you kind of hit on it at the top with just the retention and, recruitment aspect of this. But what if a retailer, say, comes to you and asks, what's the real business sense of engaging with a product like Cooleaf and this type of service? What's sort of your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, if we just simplify it down, let's say a retail environment, this is a way to, in real time, spot bonus your individuals or teams for achieving, we'll call it, micro milestones, right? So, hey, this week we hit our sales goal, or we hit our loyalty goal, we hit our customer satisfaction goal, and boom, now everyone's recognized, and you're reminding people in a positive way about what's important, for your business. And so it's a way to very easily manage and kind of highlight, the goals and the wins that are happening. Right. And what happens is that, we see more of the behaviors that, are going to lead to your goals because you're positively reinforcing them in a easy to use kind of manner. Right. So, fundamentally, like just as a retailer, right? It's like, hey, I want to have a way, here we have these sales goals, we have these customer service goals, whatever it might be. I want to have a way in real time to just spot bonus my people, but also do it in a more social experience so other people get to see it. Other people can, read that story and again, going back to that higher perceived value, right? It's, hey, people love that Target gift card. Once they realize that's real, you have their attention, and it drives behavior.
It almost especially on there's the recognition side, but the challenges side that we're talking about, it almost gamifies the job. Would that be fair to say?
It does. And you're gamifying it, and you're just doing it in a positive experience for your people.
Yeah.
Right. So we have kind of this, so we can customize the gamification to the business, right? So we'll create competitions and so forth that are going to align to the goals, right? And then we'll mix in some fun things and keep it interesting and fresh as well, right? But that's kind of the secret sauce, we use this point system to recognize and reinforce the actions and the behaviors that you want to see more consistently with your team. And we just do it in a way that people get really excited about and enjoy.
And obviously you mentioned you work with a bunch of different types of businesses and things like that. I'm curious on the retail side, and it could be, with specific use cases of your platform, or even just, employee engagement in general. What are some things that a retailer can do? You mentioned like sales goal targets and things like that, but are there other ways that a retailer can sort of turn to employee engagement to, help, whether it's culture or the bottom line of the business? What kind of things are they able to do?
So I'll give you an example. So you're probably familiar with Orange Theory Fitness.
Yep.
Most people have heard of that. It's intense, right? But the way that we're supporting, their strategy. So they have a lot of different locations. They have district kind of managers, they have location managers, and then they have, staff, right? And they want to empower their district leaders, their store, I'll call it store managers, to be able to, reward and recognize individuals for going above and beyond. So they're empowering their leaders. And so they have certain number of points that they can do that. And they have different kind of awards that they can give out. And so you're allowing them to recognize their people for their, based on, their discretion and their goals. In addition, we have automatically, when people hit certain milestones, boom, they're automatically recognized, right? So now as an employee, like I know that, hey, if we get X number of new, folks enrolled this week or signed up, hey, we're as a team, we're going to hit this spot bonus. And as an individual, my manager has the ability to highlight and recognize me as well. So that's just an example, really kind of focusing in on the spot bonusing or the award kind of aspect. But again, the company or you as the business owner, you can control the budget, right? How much you want to make available, right? But what we found is that because it's going through this program, I'm earning points, right? Hey, that $50 means a lot more in this gift card in my hand versus in my paycheck. You can actually spend less money through this type of program versus, just adding things to people's checks, and you get a lot more mileage out of it. So that's an example, in a retail environment that I think could be relevant for the audience here.
Have you seen, this platform? Like, have you seen an example, or does anything stand out to you, in your work of a company completely flipping its culture from like having, employees were not having a great experience to, they brought this in? You don't have to get into specifics, but, it'd be interesting to hear what the shift looked like for a company in sort of bringing something like this on board?
Yeah. So, so I love sharing stories. You know, we, so in most cities, they have these top workplace awards. Okay. And companies, hey, when I'm recognized as a best place to work, I communicate that to applicants, new hires, right? Like that's how I'm attracting talent. So in one particular example, it's an accounting firm. They were not on that top workplace. They were doing engagement surveys. They were struggling. So we came in really focused on employee recognition, right? And just allowing people to be recognized and appreciated, and just with the goal of getting them on that top workplace list, right? So I'm really excited to say, not only did we get them on that top workplace list, and they still are today, they told us that with roughly a 3.5% reduction in employee turnover, they saved approximately $2 million annually, right? And this is what they're telling us. Okay, so to them, the ROI is just significant, right? And so not only is it helping them attract talent from being on that top workplace list and kind of having that as something that they promote, but they're telling us, hey, this is part, and it's not just us. They said, hey, we're going to be intentional about a strategy to retain our people, right? And being able to reward, recognize, kind of create this community was a big part of that strategy. And so they shared with us, that those ROI around turnover.
And that's the important thing. Those are like the hidden dollars, right? Is
absolutely
the turnover.
Turnover is expensive,
right?
Very expensive.
Yeah. And just the other thing you mentioned there too is being intentional about it. And I wonder, just from in your experience talking to businesses about, these employee recognition platforms and employee engagement, what is the pitch difficult? Like, what's it like trying to get a company? If they're reaching out, obviously they have some interest, but even just in talking to someone that might not currently employ a platform like Cooleaf, what is that conversation like? And do you see a lot of similarities between those that are hesitant to it and maybe the thing that kind of gets them over the edge to, commit to really being intentional about this?
So it's a great question. Over these last 1-2 years, with the pandemic, and obviously now, awesome, we're coming out of that. I would say that more and more companies are realizing they've got to be doing more for their employees. Okay. This is especially true when you got a lot of people spread out or remote. How do you share these stories? How do you making sure people are engaged and tied to your, what does your culture mean to these people who are all spread out? And so we're seeing more and more that, this is a priority. We believe this is the future, Rob. So if you're going to be a forward-thinking leader, you will have an employee experience strategy, period. Right now, if you're not there yet, one way to like more tangibly even start is, hey, this is a more modern way to spot bonus your people for hitting goals for your organization. Okay. And so what we tell people is like, look, if you already have a budget for bonuses, take a fraction of that budget. Let's run it through this program in terms of how now you can do this in a more of a social, kind of experience with the reward points and the catalog. And let's look at the data. Let's look at the difference, right? So, typically most companies are already budgeting some form of a bonus. Well, let's take some of that and let's run it through this new modern way to kind of manage it, right? And let's look at the data. Let's look at the results. And once that happens, they're believers.
They're bought in.
So that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Well, and you mentioned it. Obviously, the last 2 years have put an emphasis on this as employees start, and companies as a whole have gone remote and had to be forced to work separately from one another and at a distance. But has that sort of eased the burden, I guess, on you guys and explaining sort of the benefits of these? Are more companies getting it now?
I would say so. The short answer is yes. I would say, especially, so when companies, a lot of companies went remote, right? Those things that you used to do kind of in person in your office, well, now you're not doing that. What are you going to do now? Right. And so how do you kind of create that sense of culture, that sense of engagement when you don't see people? Right now, I know in retail, obviously, you're going to be, with each other more. But the bottom line is, we're now seeing much more people, coming to us saying, hey, we're looking for a strategy, right? Help us understand, what are the top workplaces doing, right? And so when we work with an organization, it's not just about, again, hey, here's this new fancy technology. I'm a big believer. If you don't have a strategy behind your technology, you're not going to get the value, right? And so we're helping these organizations to create that strategy, but also to learn from. There's no reason to recreate the wheel, right? We share all these best practices, all these learnings from what other companies are doing, and we say, hey, here's a roadmap, here's a template, here's examples, here's the best practices, and then we'll customize it for their specific goals, right? And again, we see this as the future, Rob. And people are going to get there. Some will get there sooner than others, but we're seeing it in a big way across industries right now.
And again, to your point, you mentioned that there's the being intentional about it, and then having it's not just investing in a platform. Yes, you're investing in the platform, but it's understanding, and that kind of half answers what was going to be my last question for you, in just ensuring that there's ongoing, use of a platform. Obviously, it has to do with having that sort of full company strategy behind it, and doing more than just trying to engage people in a platform, because that obviously isn't going to do it. There needs to be sort of buy-in and a roadmap to your, as you describe it. Curious, obviously they're going to be, no two companies are going to have the same strategy, or the same strategy isn't going to work. This isn't cookie cutter for sure. But what are some of the things, that you see that kind of align across different companies, maybe specifically for retail? As far as that overarching strategy of employee engagement is concerned?
So first and foremost, tie it into your business. So, hey, like when we're hitting this goal as a team, this is how you're going to be bonused. Okay. So you don't have to beg people to go use some technology platform. No, this is how you're being bonused. Okay. This is your job. Do it well. And here's how you're going to be bonused, right? Boom. I just now got 500 points. I'm on my app. I'm seeing what I can redeem. Oh, wow. I can give a shout out and recognize someone else. Oh, wow. We got a challenge going on. Then the snowball starts to generate, right? So number one, tie it into your business. Okay. Number two, if you as an organization have core value, if you don't have core values, I absolutely believe that this is something that you want to invest the time on. Like, and really think about, why do we exist? What is our mission? Why do other people want to come be part of this mission? Right. And, and then have a way to, to basically tell the stories about what these values mean in the day to day. Right. And we do that through employee recognition. Okay. And so tie it into your business. This is how you bonus people for your business. Right. I may be whatever. I'm a great employee. I'm busy doing this thing, but hey, now I got awarded. I want it. And so you're bringing me back in, right? And then enable the core value-based recognition, right? And then those stories will start to get shared about how these folks are going above and beyond, right? Those two things. And then, there's simple things like, hey, someone had a work anniversary. Well, we're automatically going to celebrate them, recognize them, right? Someone had a birthday. Okay, great. So a new hire just got added, right? Well, let's welcome, and so there's lots of ways that we make it easy to get strong adoption. But to answer your question, tie it into your business, and then let's really celebrate people for living out those core values. Those would be two fundamental things to get adoption.
No, that's awesome. And it's cool to hear, because we're obviously having a lot of those conversations, and they're ongoing. The important thing is they're conversations that are ongoing. It's not like hey, let's figure out what our core values are and then set it and forget it. That just doesn't happen. Or it might, but that's not going to result in success or real true buy-in, for sure. But, thinking of it from the retail aspect, a retailer might think, well, core values, I sell product, like that's, but there are ways to, think about that. Like every company has core values, whether they think it's, too simplified or not. But I know a retailer, and I'm sure you've seen examples of, really what it takes to look at your business and figure out what those are, because whether you're a retailer or, in some other industry, you're going to have core values. And, to your point, and the kind of wrapping this whole conversation is it having those and being able to work towards those is what, builds that culture and gets people to buy in.
Absolutely. And I think just innately as a human or an employee, I want to know that what I'm doing is meaningful. Right.
Yep.
And I want to feel like I'm having an impact, right, in something positive. Right. And so, and so if, that's part of engagement, that's part of retention. Yep. Is feeling, but you have to, you got new hires coming, you got people coming and going, you have to constantly tell that story. Hey, why we exist. Here's what we do. Here's why we serve our customers this way. Here's the impact we're looking to make, and reminding people, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, I believe, what employees expect now, right? And at least good employees.
Yeah, no.
And so that's kind of how we see the future. That's what we see is what leaders are doing to really attract and keep the best people. And I believe that, all organizations should get there, will get there at some point. But yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing overall right now.
No, that's awesome. It's cool because, we have the experience of engaging with Cooleaf and the platform and seeing how it's been customized for Nationwide, and, excited to kind of get a little bit underneath the cover here and see how you guys are thinking about it. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's been fun chatting with you about it, and we're excited to see how, some independent retailers implement it as well in their own businesses. So it's fun. It reminds me, I need to go check my point total, see where I'm at, and go see what I can cash in on. But no, John, this was a lot of fun talking with you and getting to, dive in a little deeper into Cooleaf and just the whole concept of employee engagement, because it's one that, as you mentioned, is very important and certainly seems like the way things are going. So we appreciate you taking the time and chatting with us.
Well, thank you for hosting me today. It was a lot of fun. And I really appreciate being able to share this story with you.
Awesome. Awesome. And thanks again to John for taking the time and sharing some pretty cool stories and having an awesome microphone as well to go along with it. Nice to have two podcasters get on a podcast and share some good audio clips. So no, I appreciate him taking the time and sharing some details about Cooleaf. And obviously, he's passionate about it, and that shows through in how he talks about not just Cooleaf, but the idea of employee engagement in general, and just sort of the impact it can have on a business and really, a company's culture. So appreciate him sharing that story. And as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast, and we will catch you next time.